Hello and welcome to 11D. This is going to be about population dynamics and how they actually relate to one another. Predator and prey is the first slide, and we basically have two pictures, or a picture of two critters, and I'm asking you which one is which is the predator, which is the prey. Predator is the organism that hunts and kills other organisms, so that has to be that lioness. And the prey is the organism that is hunted by the predator, which has to be that zebra. So our whole dynamics is predator and prey. Who wins? Do the prey actually overpopulate, which allows the predator population to increase to control the prey population, or vice versa? How does it work? So the first thing we're going to talk about is a perfect growing system. This is a population where the number of organisms of a specific species in a particular area changes over time, and exponential growth, shown by this J curve, is basically unsustainable growth. It's uncontrollable. It starts out with a relatively small number, very successful. All the supplies needed for the critter or the species population is provided, and the population goes up. And it is unsustainable. It cannot go on forever. This is human growth right now. This is when the birth rate actually is increased, or increases the death rate. So there are more births than there are deaths, so the population continues to increase, and it does so exponentially, where 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and it keeps doubling in size with time. Luckily, our lifespan is longer than like bacteria's, but bacteria does the same sort of thing, at least until it reaches something called the carrier capacity. We needed to draw that J curve. Carrying capacity. The carrying capacity is the maximum number of organisms that an ecosystem can provide, for which a ecosystem can provide. Shouldn't end sentences with prepositions. I'm actually using a PowerPoint from probably 8 years ago, and this is from a teacher who wrote the stuff on the slide, sort of like what I could do with my tablet, and I'm going to leave it on there just because it was harder. It was easier to leave it here than it was to actually try to change it. The rest of these slides have been changed by me over time. This is where births actually equal deaths, so we actually reach what's called the carrying capacity. So we get exponential growth for a while. That's the point of maximum growth rate, and then it seems to slow down and slow down and slow down, and then it actually equals a flat line, and that's what's going to be called the carrying capacity. Population really isn't this smooth, it goes ups and downs with other things, but basically what will happen is it'll go above the carrying capacity and come back down and above in carrying capacity, and depending if the good things actually go up, it goes up faster, or the bad things increase and it goes down faster. This is called an S curve, and I would like you to draw that one as well. If population increases over the carrying capacity, the number of deaths will increase. And if population is under carrying capacity, the birth will increase. So we get increased birth over death here, and then we get increased death over birth, and then at this point we actually equal it out. This is the carrying capacity of a population. All populations have this. The question is when is the human population going to do this? And that's when the deaths actually increase over the births, and I'm not sure if we're going to like that. Limiting factors, these are resources that actually work on the ecosystem, and they quantify their qualities that quantify the limit of the number of organisms that can survive. And we're going to have things that are called dependent factors, where they increase, so does the population, or they decrease, so does the population. Or we'll have independent factors where one increases, the other one decreases. These are dependent factors, and they include things that cause the population to increase, and these factors will limit the population more strongly than the independent factors. And there are things like food and predators. So if there's more food for the bunnies, we get more bunnies. If there are more predators, we get less bunnies. Shelter goes up, we get more. Shelter goes down, or it's actually under more competition. Populations go down if mates go up, so do the population. If mates go down, they don't. Disease goes up, or actually disease or light or oxygen factors. Water could be in there as well. Those are all dependent factors. Here's a dependent factor. I've showed this before. I don't remember exactly when, but we talked about the rabbits going up. And then as the rabbits go up, the lynx goes up, but a little bit later. And then if that happens, the rabbits go down, and then so do the lynx. And then the rabbits go up, and then here come the lynx, and the rabbits go down, and there go the lynx. And it just keeps going back. They're associated with one another, the little offset, but the carrying capacity of the bunnies would be like right about here. Actually, it looks like it's going down, so maybe what's happening is man's moving in and actually decreasing the area that the bunnies can go in. Looks like the lynx are staying pretty separate, but we have a carrying capacity of the bunnies there, and we have a carrying capacity of the lynx down here, and usually you're going to get more prey than you're going to get predator. So this is what one organism's population can affect the other. And the bunnies affect the lynx just like the lynx affects the bunnies. Independent factors, these are going to be qualities of an ecosystem that will affect a population regardless of its size. So it doesn't matter if it's 3 in the population or 3 million in the population. And these are natural disasters. Doesn't care how many are in the population. Temperature, doesn't care. Precipitation, hurricanes, storms and drought, don't care. And human influence, we seemingly don't care. There are some organizations that will step in and remind us that maybe we shouldn't do it, but that doesn't mean we're going to listen. Here's an example of independent factors. This is rainbow trout, really good tasting rainbow trout. Perch, not too bad, and bass, pretty good fighting fish, as well as taste pretty good in a pan. But if you take a look, rainbow trout seem to grow here, yellow perch there, and the largest amount of largemouth bass here. And if you take a look, it's the temperature. Rainbow trout actually like cool water, and as the water warms up, the perch take over, and as the water warms up even more, the largemouth bass come in. Independent factors also, like hunting, construction, and population, will hunt no matter how many there are, will construct, and will pollute regardless of population. And here is a deer. Here is a deer with construction. There's a deer with hunting. And here are a whole bunch of fish, not sure what kind, with pollution. And it doesn't matter how many deer are out there, you're going to get deer roadkills. Doesn't matter how many are out there will hunt. Doesn't matter how many are in there, pollution will affect the population. Carrying capacity, what's the carrying capacity of the deer population on Walla Walla Island? And I think this is really strange because I lived in Walla Walla until I was 12, and there was no Walla Walla Island. I can't find it anywhere. I can find Deer Island in the Columbia River, which is in Washington State, but not close to Walla Walla. So I don't know where this Walla Walla deer or Walla Walla Island where the deer population is, but if you look at this graph, where would you draw the carrying capacity? Does the carrying capacity look like it's up here by 100? Does it actually look like it's down here by 10? Or does it actually look like it's over here like 75-ish? And I think that's probably where the carrying capacity is. Population went above it, and then it actually went below it, and now it's actually going kind of up and down, and the population looks like that's the population that should be there with current conditions. Now, if food goes up, this carrying capacity will go up. If predator prey, if prey actually, which is the deer, if the predator population goes up, this will go down. If there's a drought, this will go down. Carrying capacity is there with the current living situation. So what about sheep carrying capacity in Tasmania? Where would you draw that? This is millions of sheep. Looks like there's a population carrying capacity that goes up and down. So I think that line would be right about there, maybe 1.6 million sheep in Tasmania. If it goes up, if actually there's a good rain and the grass goes up, then if there's a drought, it goes down, predation goes down, population goes up. All kinds of things will affect this population. Niche, this is an organism's role in an environment. It's what it eats it, how it reproduces, and how many, and where it lives. And remember the finch. One finch went over, or one group of finch went over, and because of different types of food, their bills actually increased. And when it reproduced, we saw a video talking about that they probably still could reproduce, at least some of the closer related, but they don't because of the way they live. And then symbiotic relationship, this is a relationship between organisms of two different species, like this bird and this, I'm not sure if that's an alligator or crocodile. Let's say it's a crocodile. Okay, so symbiotic relationships, there are three types. First one is called mutualism. This is a relationship in which both critters benefit. The bird actually gets to pick the food out between the teeth of the alligator. Alligator knows that the bird is there, lets it come in. It actually benefits the alligator because the teeth stay clean, benefits the bird because they get to eat. And here's a clownfish, sea anemone. They benefit because they actually will clean things around the anemone that would actually putrefy and turn bad. And then the sea anemone actually gets to dive in there and stay protected from things that like to eat the clownfish. Or we have this bird sitting on top of this hippo. It'll actually pick off parasites on the skin, benefits the bird, benefits the hippo. Then we have commensalism. This is a relationship when one critter benefits and the other one is neither helped or harmed. And here's the helped one, there's the neither one, and I kind of don't agree with two of these. I think that the tree actually is out there and supposedly is the one that's not hurt, and the Spanish moss hanging off the branches is the one that's helped. But I tend to think that this actually affects the leaves of the tree, so that's probably not as good as this picture. I think the tree actually does go down a little bit. Remora and the shark, I think that's probably a good example. The remora actually benefits because it gets to get the pieces of the meat that the shark's eating and doesn't really bother the shark in terms of streamline. Barnacles on a whale, I think it does affect this whale. I think it actually stops the streamlinedness of the water. But they're basically saying that the barnacle doesn't cause any damage to the whale, and they get to sit there because they get to move into different water, and they're filter feeders, so they get to filter as they move through. Then the last slide, this is what's called parasitism. This is when the relationship where one critter benefits and the other one is harmed. Definitely happens in terms of a tick. The tick actually bears itself, in this case this is a human something, bears itself into the human skin, drinks the blood, and it actually takes the blood, which is supposed to be providing good stuff for the cells and taking away bad stuff from the cells. This is a tapeworm, it can live in your gut, actually buries its head into your intestine, and it actually will just absorb food that you're trying to absorb and release these little segments on the far end, which will have eggs in them and repopulate other humans. And then this is a flea, same thing, burying its head into another human and drinking blood, and not good for the human, good for the flea. One benefit is that these parasites normally do not kill the host. Now, if they're carrying a bacteria or a fungus or a virus, all bets are off. But the tick itself doesn't want to kill the human, the flea doesn't want to, and the tapeworm doesn't want to, because the tapeworm would die if the human died or the dog died, which has a tapeworm. The flea would just hop off and go someplace else. The tick would crawl off and go someplace else, but they usually do not want to kill their host. Okay, I think that's it, because this one, there's the old slide, which I didn't take off, and I didn't put that in there. Host is harmed, not usually killed. And there's where we stop again, because this one is 11B, and that's where we talk about nutrient cycles, and we'll talk about that next. Thank you.